My mother's new partner is younger than I am, and he's attempting to step into my father's shoes. This situation has turned my entire existence upside down. I never imagined something like this could happen. Yet here I am, facing the truth that my mom's new boyfriend isn't just younger than me, he's trying to claim my life, my family, and my role within it. The shock isn't only about the age difference, it's about how swiftly everything shifted once they began dating. One moment, life was stable. My mom and I were managing, leaning on each other since my dad walked out. Then came him, Ethan, a guy young enough to be my peer, not my mother's partner. Initially, I assumed it was a passing phase. I mean, how could I take him seriously? He was barely in his late 20s. But then I started noticing small things, subtle shifts, that began eroding the bond I shared with my mom. He wasn't just dating her. He was trying to fill a void. What was once a quiet, close-knit family became his platform, his chance to take control. It wasn't just the age gap. It was the way he stared at me, acting as if he were now the one in charge. The tension grew with each passing day. Ethan's presence cast a shadow that expanded, smothering everything I thought I knew about my family. The worst part? My mom didn't see it. She was oblivious to how quickly she was drifting away from me, how we were losing our connection. At first, Ethan's presence was a minor annoyance, a slight disturbance to our usual routine. I didn't think much of him when he first showed up. After all, he was just my mom's boyfriend, and they were still in that infatuated stage. He was younger than me, yes, but that didn't immediately alarm me. I figured it would be a short-lived fling, and soon I'd have my space back. But that wasn't what happened. Ethan's visits became more regular. He'd join us for family dinners, and my mom would glow in a way that felt unfamiliar, as if she'd discovered something in him I couldn't quite grasp. At first, I brushed it off as a temporary phase. After all, she hadn't been in a committed relationship since my dad. Maybe she just wanted to feel valued again. But over time, things shifted in a way I couldn't ignore. It wasn't just his youth that unsettled me. It was how effortlessly he slid into the role of a family member. He'd walk into our home with a confidence that felt off. There was something territorial about it. Gradually, Ethan began occupying spaces where I once belonged, both physically and emotionally. He started sitting at the head of the dining table, a spot I always considered mine, even if I wasn't the man of the house. It was my place, and he knew it. Yet he acted unbothered by it. He behaved as if he were meant to be there. I noticed my mom's focus shifting. She'd spend hours chatting with him, laughing at his quips, clinging to his every sentence. I couldn't recall the last time we had an uninterrupted conversation without him butting in. It was always about him now. He became the focal point of every family gathering, the one everyone revolved around, while I was pushed to the sidelines. I was no longer the person she turned to for advice or solace. It felt like I was fading into the background, watching Ethan take center stage. As time went on, I felt like I was losing my mom to him. He began making choices for her, offering opinions that sidelined me completely. What struck me was how naturally he assumed this role, as if he'd always been part of our family. My mom seemed unaware of it all, swept up in the thrill of this new romance. It was painful to witness, even harder to address. Each day, I felt like I was vanishing from my own life, replaced by someone younger, someone who wasn't even close to my age. It wasn't just that Ethan had my mom's attention. It was that he consumed her entire world, and everything else, including me, became secondary. My life, my challenges, my needs, they were no longer a priority. I always saw myself as a vital part of our family, but with him around, I felt irrelevant. This wasn't a passing phase. Ethan wasn't leaving, and neither was my mom's devotion to him. The realization hit me hard. Every small moment I'd shared with my mom, the private jokes, the times I was her first call, seemed to dissolve, replaced by Ethan and his constant presence. It was increasingly difficult to watch this unfold, to feel invisible in my own home. I began withdrawing, retreating inward, unsure how to tackle what was happening. All I knew was that something had to change. I couldn't keep standing by as Ethan, a man younger than me, took everything I held dear. The reality crashed over me in waves like watching something slip away, beyond my grasp. Ethan didn't just enter our lives, he invaded them, and it felt like a hostile takeover. The subtle, almost imperceptible way he altered the household dynamic made it clear that my bond with my mom would never be the same. His presence was more than just boyfriend. It became a constant reminder that I was being displaced. I had been the one my mom leaned on for years. I was there through her struggles, her triumphs, and her quiet moments. I was part of every discussion, every decision. But now, my voice was being drowned out by Ethan's influence. He was younger, charming, and unlike me, he represented something thrilling and novel to my mom. That alone wouldn't have been an issue, But it wasn't just their relationship that was changing. It was my place in her life, and I didn't know how to handle it. At first, I noticed minor changes, but they soon became undeniable. He'd sit beside her on the sofa, dominate conversations I'd try to have with her, and crack jokes that were meant to amuse but felt sharp. Whenever I tried to discuss something meaningful, his input always took precedence. My mom would defend him, and the worst part was she didn't even seem to realize I was being pushed out. I had always been integral to her life, and now I felt like an outsider peering in. Ethan was always there. He always stole the spotlight, always had the final say. I started feeling invisible in my own home. My thoughts, my feelings, even my presence seemed to matter less than his. My mom's devotion to him was clear, and her dismissal of my unease was devastating. The final blow came when I learned that my mom and Ethan were planning to live together. This wasn't just about him staying over or spending a night. It was a complete overhaul of my mom's life, and I wasn't included. I always believed our family was unshakable, that nothing could fracture our bond. But now I was watching it crumble. My mom was moving forward, while I was left grasping at the fragments of a family that no longer felt like mine. This wasn't just about Ethan being younger than me. It was about the emotional chasm growing between my mom and me. The closeness we shared seemed to vanish as she became more captivated by him. I couldn't help but wonder, was she choosing him over me? Was I being forgotten for someone who could never understand our history? The space Ethan had carved out in our lives had become a gulf, one I struggled to bridge. The pain wasn't just the sense of being replaced, it was the realization that my mom might not even notice it. I wanted to confront her, to express my feelings, but every attempt was met with a version of her so caught up in her new life that she couldn't see the truth. The reality struck me like lightning. I couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was looming, something I wasn't ready for. The day my mom announced they were officially moving in together, something inside me broke. She was so thrilled, talking about their future, about how she hadn't felt this alive in years. All I could hear was my pulse thundering in my ears, drowning out her words. I barely recognized her anymore. The woman who had always been my anchor, my confidant, was gone, replaced by someone I couldn't connect with. Ethan didn't deserve her. Worse, he didn't value her the way I did. The more I reflected, the deeper the wound felt. She wasn't just choosing him over me, she was erasing the person who had always stood by her. The real shock came days later when I discovered Ethan's true intentions. Not just to move into our home, but to dominate every facet of her life. He wanted them to travel the globe, leave everything behind, and start anew. But it wasn't just about them. It was about his control over my mom's world, over everything we'd built together. And the most staggering part? She was going along with it. That's when the final revelation hit. I overheard a conversation between Ethan